Welcome back to the Popcorn Square podcast. It is Neff with
Kage.
And Buttons.
And today we are going to be talking about films that are releasing in December. Now, there seems to be quite a bunch of films, to be quite honest, more than I thought there was going to be. There is a lot of competition, but I want to run through a couple ones that are going to be dropped out by big studios. So we have A24 putting out Y2K. That's kind of like a teenage slasher. I don't know how well that's going to do. I know there's going to be some nostalgia, obviously, with the name attached to it. So I think it's going to be one of those teenage slashers that has a comedy slant to it. Then we have Night Bitch, and Buttons brought this one up. Amy Adams is starring in this. I think this one is going to be for the ladies. This one is going to be a comedy as well. There's a couple other films that are coming out, but they're more streams, direct to streams.
So
what else?
Night Bitch is actually listed as a horror.
Oh, wow. So that's actually going to be a horror film.
It does have a comedy element, a heavy comedy element.
Did you get horror from that trailer, Kage?
No.
But hey, maybe it's going to get dark.
I don't think
maybe she's going to eat the kids.
Oh, jeez.
That would be great, right? That's a twist.
I think they're downplaying the carnage that's going to come out of it.
What I would like to see, though, not to stay on that too long, well, maybe they show the trailer so it looks a certain way, and it's a bait and switch in a good way, and then it actually becomes dark at the end.
Yes.
Or there's just some elements that arise throughout the plot. But we have Kraven the Hunter. That is Sony Pictures once again taking a swing at it. They had Madam Web earlier this year. Kraven was originally supposed to come out in August, but now it is coming out on December 13th, I believe, which is this upcoming week. We have the animated Lord of the Rings film. That's dropping. That's from Warner Brothers Animation and New Line Cinema. I've heard, I guess, mixed things about that as far as people that want to go see it, people that don't want to go see it, especially from people that are fans of Lord of the Rings. They're kind of hesitant about this, but overall, I think there will be some people that do watch it and like it. What else? We have Sonic the Hedgehog, the third Sonic film. This is from Paramount. I think this one is going to be, I guess,
competition.
It's going to be arguably the biggest gross at the box office in December. We talked about this with November, and I had said that Moana 2 would more than likely make more money than Wicked and Gladiator and Moana 2 has. So I'm picking Sonic the Hedgehog 3 as the winner for December. Then we have Mufasa, the Lion King from Disney, and that's going to be releasing right around the same time, literally the same day as Sonic. So we have direct competition there with Paramount and Walt Disney. I wonder what name they come up with for this. Musonic? I don't know. But you have that. Right. Oh, nice. No. Then we have The Brutalist starring Adrian Brody. Cool to see him back in action there. That's another A24. So we have A24 releasing 2 films in the same month. That film runs about 3.5 hours. I just did some research on that, so that's going to be a long one. But I think it's a film that people are excited for. We'll see how that does. Then I think it's going to be the favorite of the panel here, Nosferatu, which comes out on Christmas Day, and that's going to be good as well. Robert Eggers is the director, starring Bill Skarsgård, Nicholas Hoult, Lily Rose Depp, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Emma Corrin, Ralph Ineson, Simon McBurney, and Willem Dafoe. I think that's going to be a good film, and me and Buttons will definitely be watching that film. We'll have a review for that, as well as Kage. He'll be watching it a little later, but we're all going to come to the table in January and give our full review on Nosferatu, probably our most anticipated film of the month. We have Better Man from Paramount Pictures as well, and geez, another A24 movie, Baby Girl, starring Nicole Kidman. I think I had a good rundown there, guys. What do you think overall about these titles? And let's talk about some box offices.
Was the Bob Dylan one coming out?
Bob Dylan, how could I forget? Let me see. A Complete Unknown from Searchlight Pictures, starring Timothy Chalamet, and that's a James Mangold film. I've actually heard a lot of good things about this prior. I'm glad you brought that up again, Buttons. I was going to forget about that. But yes, the Bob Dylan biopic film is going to be releasing as well on Christmas. So you have Nosferatu and A Complete Unknown releasing on the same day, direct competition there. But yes, December is pretty much packed. I do think it's going to be a successful December for Hollywood, to be quite honest, just because there's so much variety there for moviegoers. Let's talk about some of our most anticipated, other than Nosferatu, which we've talked about multiple times. Like I said, we're all excited about that. Let's talk about some of these box offices. Let's start with Kraven. Buttons, what do you think Kraven's going to do? We have a budget of $130 million.
I mean, we've got Craven is pretty much the only one that's going to hit that superhero angle, but it's also not exactly like your traditional superhero, super great guy. He's almost like a, I don't know if he's truly is he an anti-hero?
He's a Spider-Man villain.
Oh, okay, so he's a Spider-Man villain. Okay, so he's not really great. He's more like I guess you could almost compare him to like Morbius in that sense, where he comes out as being like, oh, super altruistic. Oh, actually, no, he's evil or something. I watched the trailer for this. I do like the actor, but I will say that I don't think that this was necessarily a good move for him. Sure, everybody wants to be in a superhero movie. He actually already was, but because he was in the first Avengers movie.
And don't forget Kick-Ass.
Oh yes, and Kick-Ass, yes, and Kick-Ass. So I mean, it's definitely within his wheelhouse. I just think this character is so obscure that I don't think that they're going to make their money back. I really think that if they're lucky, they're going to get to their budget. Unfortunately, that's just my prediction. Especially because there's so much other competition out there for December. I think they'll have maybe a halfway decent first weekend, and then the competition is just going to beat them out. So they'll be lucky if they get their budget back, in my opinion.
Kage, what do you think about Craven?
So I'm on the opposite spectrum of this. So I don't really know much about Craven as a character. I do know that he's a Spider-Man villain. So that's there's a big unknown factor going on with there.
Gonna stream this one?
Actually, this might be the last December movie I see before I go on holiday break and
That's
vacation.
Awesome.
Kind of a wild card for you, or something that you were looking forward to?
It was something I heard about months ago. We touched on it in previous episodes a little bit. But I saw the trailer and I was like, you know what? That looks pretty badass.
I think I'm gonna piquing your interest.
Once I saw the trailer, yes, it was a red trailer, like it was violent, rated R, and and it's not like rated R in a hokey Deadpool sort of way, but it's like a darker, gritty, because we just said it's a villain, right?
Right.
So it's like, okay, I think this could be good. So I'm going into it feeling pretty good. So you're thinking it's going
to be like a serious movie as opposed to a lot of the other superhero movies where we've seen where they put a lot of jokes in them and try and make them PG-13.
Yeah, it's not going to be it. Well, first off, they made it rated R.
Well, no. I'm saying that's what you're liking about. That's what's intriguing.
Yeah. I like it because it stands out. It's different. Because most like Marvel movies, that's what they're doing. They're trying to be PG-13 across the way. They have some hard moments, serious moments here and there, but for the most part, they try to bring some levity with some jokes and stuff. Right. Even Avengers Endgame, it was very serious, very somber, but it still had its comedic moments at the right pacing and whatnot. So I think this is gonna be a good time. I think it's going to be a good time. I think I'm going to enjoy it. At least I'm hoping I will. As far as box office, I don't really know. I don't really have a guess.
No guess yet?
Just because, again, it's an unknown quantity. I don't know anything about this character. I do know that most Marvel movies are PG-13 and stuff, with Deadpool being the big rated R one, and seeing the success of that, they're like, okay, maybe we can start dipping our toe in that. So
we kind of spoke a little bit off mic about this, that $130 million budget. Do you think that's kind of a little bit much for a character that's unknown?
I'm going to say Craven is going to make $180 million, and that's where it's going to stop.
So you don't think it's going to do good?
People don't know about him enough unless you're a Spider-Man lore master.
I mean,
I know about Craven's character.
Well, and I think that ultimately that big budget, I think in order for this movie to have been a success and a successful launch, I think it should have stayed a little bit closer to that $80 million range. Looking at the trailer, it looks.
So what I think is going to happen is I think the movie's going to be decent. I just don't feel like it's going to get the push it needs for people to actually go out and invest in the character. But I think if you were to watch this movie, you might walk out of the theater saying, that movie was pretty good. I'm actually glad that it's rated R.
Yeah, I'm looking at the cast here, and I'm like,
decent.
well, that's just it. I don't know anybody on this cast
Except for the main
except for
actor.
Aaron
And that's
Taylor
why it might
Johnson
be
and
decent.
Russell Crowe. The rest of these people are completely unknown.
Right.
Yeah, I don't recognize a single face as I look at
But
this.
that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a bad movie.
Yeah, I don't-
Well, no, but if you
Sometimes
have big
introducing-
names, that's where the budget comes from. If you,
Oh, you're saying where'd all the money go?
Right, because like, okay,
There's going to be a lot
I
of CGI.
think there's going to be a lot of
There's-
CGI.
I mean,
Well-
this is an animal. This is an animal thing. They're going to have a lot of CGI animals. I think
Yeah.
that's my view. On
I mean, there's just too much unknown
for you
going
to make
going on with this to really make a guess. But I'm just going off the trailer. The trailer really looked dark, gritty, and I'm like, okay, I like this. Aaron Taylor Johnson has established himself, at least in the few
Yes.
thing that I've seen
He's
him
having
in.
a good month this
He's a
month.
good actor.
Very good month this month because he's a Nosferatu as well.
Right? Yeah, he's in a.
There you go. So, and Russell Crowe is in this movie. Is in Craven. He was just. I stopped myself. Ooh. I was about to say Gladiator. No,
The old Gladiator.
the old Gladiator.
He
My
was
bad.
just
My bad. Retraction.
Yeah.
So,
Did they give a nod to him in the second Gladiator? Did they
he
really?
was
Flashback stuff.
flashbacks.
Oh,
He
okay,
was
so
mentioned.
okay.
He was kind of there in spirit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes, when the characters get killed off in movies, they'll put like here he is in
Oh,
a
there was
picture
plenty
in the
of
background
flashbacks.
kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
There was
so they
plenty
did.
of
Oh,
that.
okay, cool. All right.
And we might have to touch on that Gladiator while we're still doing this episode right here because me and Kage both watched that one. But yeah, so we have the animated Lord of the Rings. I don't have a budget for it, but what do you guys think that's going to do? That is a theatrical release, which is interesting, honestly.
I honestly, I feel like there's going to be the fans that are going to go out to see it that love everything Lord of the Rings, but I don't think that there's going to be anybody else who's interested in this movie. I think it's going to be purely the fans. I don't think they've really advertised it enough, and I don't think they've really put themselves out there. I don't know what the budget would have been for this. My guess is somewhere in the 100 to 150,000, or excuse me, million range, just because animated movies tend to eat up a bigger budget. However, if they were able to keep it down low, I mean, there were some animated movies like we talked about how great earlier in the year.
Inside Out 2.
No,
Kung Fu
not
Panda.
Kung Fu Panda. Kung Fu Panda kept like an $80 million
tight budget.
It was even less than the previous Panda. So I mean, and I think they made
Didn't it do better?
I think it did do better. So, point being is if they were able to keep the budget low, then I think that they're actually going to get around 100 million in sales. That's my estimate. The problem is there's too much competition in December, and Lord of the Rings movie is just kind of thrown out of left field. They're like, here's everything that's gonna something will stick against the wall here.
So I'm gonna tell you this.
Vampires, werewolves.
I don't think that movie.
Muggles, wizards, swords, and knights.
I don't think that movie's gonna do well at all, and because I can't even say the fans are gonna save it.
Oh, okay.
What did you hear, Kage?
Well, for one, I haven't read the books, but I'm a fan of the Lord of the Rings movies. I like watching that stuff, and I did see the trailer on this, and my response was kind of lukewarm. I was like, oh, Lord of the Rings. But then I thought of the Rings of Power and all this. I was like, that's kind of where
oversaturated.
Perhaps, but like when you make it an animation, people have Crunchyroll at home, folks. You know what I mean? There's so many things that people would rather watch, and
I get exactly what he's saying. He's saying people are used to the live action Lord of the Rings, and if you're gonna BS it, people are not gonna move their feet to go watch it. They want to go see Lord of the freaking Rings. Live action.
So
they want Legolas.
Yeah.
Bring me back hot elves.
They want Aragorn.
Exactly.
Finally, somebody gets it. No, but like
one does not simply.
Exactly. One does not simply throw out Lord of the Rings crap.
Yeah. So like from kind of reading kind of reading on Reddit, reading comments on YouTube, and talking to my friends that like Lord of the Rings, none of them are being like, oh, I'm so excited for it. No one is talking about it. They're like, it's okay. I might watch it. I might not. Like, I haven't talked to a single person, whether my friends in real life or anyone online. I haven't heard of a single soul sitting there going, oh, this is going to be amazing.
They're all Luddites.
Oh,
2002.
inside joke.
We don't want it.
That's right.
Rings of Power scorned a lot of people.
Yeah, so it's I'm not really expecting any big hype. I think it's going to come and
I
go.
have to agree with Kage there. I think there's a ton of competition. Like we said, while Craven might not do blockbuster numbers, Craven or Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
I'm gonna watch Craven.
Yeah, that's
Now
mean?
I do want to bring this up. Everything that we just mentioned, all the movies, the one, and this could be another episode idea, but it's kind of interesting that it's the holiday season and we have virtually no Christmas movies.
There is one.
We had Red. We had Red.
No.
One
There's
or whatever.
one's
But
coming out in December that's animated. But
That Christmas, it's on Netflix.
I haven't heard. Yeah, it's Netflix.
It's a Netflix
But
release.
I'm talking
Netflix
about
has
saying
got,
big theatrical.
Oh yes.
yeah.
yes,
I'm
very
talking
true.
about theater because these streaming services, they always put up their. You're gonna find out you're gonna get your Christmas fix.
We want our
from
Hallmark
streaming.
movies.
I was gonna say exactly that. I'm glad you brought that up, Neff, because oh my gosh, this year Netflix is going hard on the Hallmark Christmas movies. I'm sorry, Hallmark. You know, you have become like a classification of movie now, where it's just like you're like, oh, it's a prince from a small
It's like
country.
realism with fantasy.
Small
It's like
European-
weird.
And
Yeah.
the big city, you know, woman is.
But
come down from
it's
the
like it's holiday
family
cheer stuff, so
farm
I
and-
can't be mad at it. You need that type of stuff.
You do. You really
Because that's the
do.
only month you're really gonna get.
Yeah,
it.
so
it's cool.
Yeah, for me personally, I look at December and there's nothing really.
What do you think Sonic's gonna
screaming
do,
at
man?
screaming. That's gonna.
Sonic's gonna.
That's
do
I
gonna
think
do
budget's
amazing.
90 to 100 million. Box office, guys. I'm gonna say 550 million,
Yeah,
and I think it's gonna go all the way until January.
I'm in. Yeah,
Just
I'm
because they're
inclined to agree with
introducing
that.
Shadow.
So Sonic and Moana 2. When I watched the trailer for Moana 2, I was very lukewarm with that. Whereas Sonic, I've always been on the fence with. I like it, but I don't like it. So if I had to choose between the two, I'm watching Moana. But those two are going to be, I think, the winners in terms of the most money for the month. My guess would be is that Moana does slightly better than Sonic, but it's kind of hard to tell. What were we calling it earlier?
I was just thinking about that right
Like,
now,
what
and I
should we-
can't remember exactly what I said, so I don't want to mess up what I said earlier.
Yeah,
But I think I can come up with a new one. Mufasa.
Mufasa.
Because we have Mufasa
Yeah.
coming out on the same day.
Oh,
What do you
geez.
guys think that one's going to do? I think it's going to be
So
quite
Mufasa.
decent. I don't think it's actually going to do as good as that live action Lion King that they put out.
Was
that 2020?
I think it was around 2020. I'm not sure.
Don't quote me on that, but I do believe that live action Lion King came out within the last 5 years, so I think that's a solid range there. I think this film will do decent. I don't know if it's going to do as good as that. It is a prequel to the events of the Lion King, so I think that's an interesting spin as well, and that comes out same day as Sonic the Hedgehog 3, so we do have some direct competition with Paramount and Disney. Okay, so 2019, so you have that 5-year angle there. I'm not really getting a lot of budgets here, to be quite honest, from what I can find. I'm not diving too deep into it, but I'm going to say Mufasa's probably got about 100 to 120 million as well, looking at that cast. I think Beyonce's back. She was listed on it.
Right.
Which is interesting because this is before Simba and Nala.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what capacity.
It
maybe
might
she's
just be
doing
a
a
song,
soundtrack.
yeah.
Maybe she's doing some music for the film, which is cool. But she's definitely gonna go in and get her money. So that's an expense, right? So yeah, I think the Sonic Hedgehog 3 and the Mufasa films coming out together is going to be very interesting, especially right before Christmas. and kids might be out on break by then as
Oh,
well.
sure.
And then we have the war of popcorn buckets. So we have the Sonic the Hedgehog popcorn bucket, which I talked about on the weekly
Pride
earlier.
Rock Lion
And then we
King.
have the Pride Rock Epic Lion King bucket, which everybody at the table saw, and we had a laugh riot over it. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting December 20th. Kage, what do you think Mufasa will do, and what do you think Sonic will do? Because we didn't hit you on there.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. Sonic is gonna be in the 500 million range. I think Mufasa is. I'm not expecting Mufasa to do well.
Oh, really?
I am not hearing anybody talking about it.
I think, honestly, if I had to like put them in terms of numbers, I'm still on the fence with which one is going to outperform, if it's going to be Sonic or if it's going to be Moana. But I do think that they're going to take the top three. I think they're going to be the top three for the month.
Yeah, like the animated films usually
Sweep it
tend
up.
to do very, very well. People are going to be taking their kids.
Exactly.
Kids are going to be off from the holidays, so it
Exactly.
makes perfect sense that they're going to do
Families
good.
are going to do the numbers.
Families are going to do, family films are going to win.
Exactly.
Nosferatu, I really want to see that, and I fully intend to do so. But the fact that it comes out on Christmas, I'm going to be with family. My family's not going to want to watch that.
I
They're
feel
not going to
like
want to watch that on Christmas. So
when we were looking at the showtimes for Nosferatu, for like early showtimes, they're not putting them in the big theaters either. I mean, like the big.
I'm disappointed.
Yeah, they're putting them in the smaller auditoriums, I should say, not the big theaters. They're putting them in the smaller auditoriums within the big theaters because they know people aren't going to be going to see vampires on Christmas. They're going to go see Mufasa. They're going to go see Moana. They're going to go see Sonic. They're not going to see vampires.
Right.
There's going to be some teenagers. There's going to be some adults that don't have children.
Yeah.
There's going to be that kind of audience that's going to
This
go
is
see
definitely
those type of
a solid rated R film.
yeah.
Yeah,
But if families are going to be like, hey, we got to go see a movie as a group, as a family,
it's not
they're
gonna
going to
be
pick
that.
something that's along the lines of those movies. Maybe you might get some people going to see, what was the other horror movie that you mentioned?
Terrifier?
No, not Terrifier.
Because they're
that's
re-releasing
coming
that
out.
for Christmas too.
Are
which
they?
Is
Oh my
wild.
gosh, terrible.
It just makes too
idea.
much money. But
yeah, like
I mean, hey, I guess why not, right? No. Oh, and then maybe the Bob Dylan one. That might be
Bob
like
Dylan,
kind of
I think that might be one of
your
those
older,
another
your
adults.
older adults
Yeah.
are like, we're not going to go see the kids movie. Let's
That demo,
Let's
yeah.
go see. Are the kids?
And those come out on the same day.
empty
Nosferatu
nesters.
and The Complete Unknown. Nosferatu, I think, has a budget of $100 million, maybe 80. But I think, let's just say 100. What do you guys think about the box office of that? Definitely want to hear what you think about that. I think this movie's going to have word of mouth.
Yeah.
I think it's going to... I think it's going to do 300 million, and that's where it stops. But 300 is going to be enough to cover what it needs to cover.
Yeah.
I think it's going to stop there.
I agree with that.
If they get the audience in
That's
January,
with legs, yeah.
If they get the audience in January, I think they'll clean up.
And that's
pretty
all you
nice.
need.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't think this is going to be a
This
super
seemed more-
expensive
this seemed more of a
production.
passion
You could tell,
project.
yeah.
This seemed more of a passion project.
For
I don't think
sure.
they're trying to make it into anything more than what it is. Just
I'm
like
glad
a
they're
fun,
actually bringing
interesting-
back Dracula,
niche.
and it's not a joke.
Yeah, it's
like
like a
it's like
niche.
a
Yeah.
real serious vampire movie. We've needed this for years, and I'm
still-
glad we're getting that.
I still question.
Voyage of the Demeter was dark.
And I was gonna bring that one up because
Yeah.
I know that Kage watched that and he liked that.
I did.
And I haven't heard bad things about it, to be quite honest, which is interesting. But I feel like this is a different type of Dracula. Like this is the German version of Dracula, basically. So
Yeah.
There's definitely some darkness to it. Hopefully and they give that whole silent movie vibe to it as well. So I mean, it's nice to see something that they're kind of trying to, kind of almost characteristic of, or not characteristic, but almost giving me the same vibes as like Sleepy Hollow did. So Sleepy Hollow,
Desaturated colors, very
Yes,
dark,
exactly.
gray, shot at
Macabre.
night.
Yeah, they're
macabre.
making it. Yeah, they're making it kind of give those older, throwback vibes.
Like, this is one of
bringing it to the modern day.
this might be one of the
Experience.
like the grandfather of movies in terms of horror movies. Like
Right,
Nosferatu is a very, very
Yes.
old, hundreds of years story.
Yeah.
Very old. I think it's older. It's even older than Frankenstein. It's
Well, was it originally filmed
1922.
during the
1922. There you
so
go.
It was silent
Silent films. Yeah.
there.
So
okay.
It's just a score on it.
Yeah, so
Right,
they
just had music over the top.
They
and
got
then some billboard cutouts with words and stuff.
yeah, they got a pretty good cast going for it. So we'll just have to wait and see. I think I still question that whole decision to release it on Christmas Day. Of all the worst time, really, you got to release a dark movie on Christmas when everyone's happy with their family.
There's been plenty of, I mean, I don't know, over the years it seems like I've seen more and more frequently that you have those people who are like, I don't want to go see a cheery, happy movie at Christmas. This is and so they'll find that action film, or they'll find.
Well, like if you don't have a family and your kids moved out and you're depressed about your life or something like that, then you're not gonna.
You're at an. It's not anything about being depressed. It's just. It's, you know, for the group of people who don't have a bunch of little toddlers that they have to entertain, and they're not going out with their family group to go see
Christmas is just a day to them.
Yeah, exactly. They're just like,
if you're not celebrating Christmas, then this lineup of December movies is no never mind. It's just
I can see
month.
people going to well now everything is technically like assigned seating, especially in the town that we're in. But I could remember when it wasn't like that, and to me, this December is pretty stacked, not necessarily with films that I'm jumping up to watch other than like Nosferatu, like I said, but there's a lot of films that I think will appeal to a lot of different demographics.
Right.
And I feel like if this happened, and of course it's happened before, but if this array of films dropped 15 to 20 years ago, you'd probably see people in the theater all day going to that one, then I'm going to go to that one, then I'm going to go to that one, because there's something for everybody. Right. And then I'm going to go to the food court for a little bit, and then I'm going to finish it off with this. I can see people I can see the same people that want to watch Nosferatu watch the Bob Dylan movie. Right. Low key could also see him watching Sonic, because Sonic to me is not one of those films where you have to take kids with you, because it's a multi-generational game. So there's people that are 50 that know what Sonic is. Sonic the Hedgehog is one of those characters. And I talked about this in the weekly. I said, you know, it's not as big as Mario, but Sonic is definitely one of those characters where if you say Sonic the Hedgehog,
he's one of
it's
the most recognizable.
Automatic. Right. It's automatic. Like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? I'd say Sonic's just as big as Donkey Kong. Or I'd argue. Like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's December. I think we covered that pretty well. Year in review for 2024 as we swing through that quickly. What would you rate this year, Buttons? In totality.
In totality.
Just films.
Just films. Okay, and just in theater, right? We're not talking about streaming.
You could do some streaming stuff too.
Well,
just in general, what do you think? What do you think the direction is of cinema this year?
Unfortunately,
I'm gonna take the pressure off everyone at the table. I'm gonna give it a C flat.
Well, I'm gonna give it a C sharp.
We're going out.
Nice.
Sorry, musician joke, folks.
Yes. Okay.
B minor.
No. So I'm not super impressed with a lot of the things that we had in terms of how they performed in theaters. I honestly feel
just quality, not even performance.
Oh, okay. So quality wise,
because the quality is the reason why you don't have certain movies perform. Right. Certain movies.
Well, exactly. Because I mean, there were certainly a lot of movies that I enjoyed, and they did not perform well. Right. And I think we at least have one of those. We joke about some of these.
Oh, Argyle, the kitty cat.
I just want to let the record stand that Kage did not say anything about that just now.
I loved Madam Web.
Get out.
It's the greatest movie ever.
But right, so
you know what's better than that? Borderlands.
Oh,
yeah.
No, I was very sad with Fall Guy. Okay, so Fall Guy I actually really enjoyed, and it did not do well at all.
Didn't Imaginary
I guess you can say their box office fell.
That came out this year, right? Imaginary Friend.
That bombed hard,
that was
too.
One,
That was not a kid's movie. I will stand by that. I will stand by that to the end of days. That is not a
movie about trauma and depression.
Exactly. So death. So much death.
I just said Fall Guy.
Ridiculous marketing.
Nobody said anything.
You said Fall Guy what?
I said I guess you could say the box office for Fall Guy fell.
Oh.
On its face.
Oh,
now so get out!
Get out! Okay. Yeah, like
all right. So if I'm giving it a letter grade just based on purely what I thought of the lineup, B-.
Okay, that's fine. That's fair. Yeah, like I said, I'm giving it a 75.
I had some gems. In there, but I feel like overall a lot of the movies that, even if I thought that they should have done better in theaters, they weren't necessarily bad movies. But I feel like right after the pandemic, we had a lot of heavy hitting titles that were just like boom, boom, boom.
I think we all had movies here that.
This was like the bottom of the barrel.
The top 5 on my list was pretty solid overall as far as quality of films. But I think everyone at the table has a film that they did like that didn't perform well. And I'd say if I have to pick a film out of my 5 that I liked that didn't perform well, it'd be Furiosa. But the movie's great. It's stellar. But it didn't really perform like it,
But it wasn't Interstellar.
It was
right. Interstellar is a classic. And that's actually going to be back in theaters, guys, for a 10th anniversary.
Hey-o.
And I'm probably going to go watch it again because I remember when Interstellar came out, and I did go watch that in theater. So why not do it again?
So here's a question for you. Furiosa or Gladiator?
Furiosa.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I like
Kage,
Gladiator,
you too?
though.
Yeah.
You're saying Furiosa was stronger than Gladiator too?
Yeah, if you put them head to head, yeah.
Okay. Well, what about your Megalopolis movie?
I like Megalopolis. It's a great movie. He didn't watch it, though.
Well, no, I know he didn't watch it, but I think
I
it
give
would actually be.
Megalopolis a 80 flat.
Have you ever seen the people do the things where they like give the 2 things and the person has to pick? I feel like that would be fun to do that with
this or
movies.
that?
Yeah, this or that.
Maybe that's an idea.
That's
for
an
the
idea
future.
for another
Alright.
episode. Yeah, we
Alright.
should do that. Write down the movies and be like, this movie or that one.
We
So
saw
if
a
you
lot of
had to
movies
watch
this
a
year.
movie for 8 hours for one day, what would it be? Argyle or Borderlands? Go. You can't. You have to make a choice.
Absolutely, Argyle.
I would rather play in traffic. But anyway, yeah.
Swim with alligators.
Yeah. You'd rather go on a night swim?
Whoa.
Night swim. Back to January. Bang.
Yeah. So like when I think about movies, I mean, I agree with Neff. I'm gonna have to give it a solid C. Most notably the big heavy hitter Dune that we had in the very beginning of the year. That was amazing.
March.
I really enjoyed that. The Beekeeper.
Beekeeper
Really,
was that January or
January
February?
action film.
yeah,
January.
really enjoyed that. I am not surprised that it didn't do as well as we would have wanted, just because
Beekeeper did great.
Well, it didn't. Well, I'm just saying though.
For its budget, it did great.
For its budget, it did
Overall,
great, but
for the
it's
year, it's not.
I
gonna
get
be
it.
the most
I get it.
highly
we already
grossing
have
movie.
John
makes
Wick,
sense.
and
Yeah.
if you've never seen John Wick before, then I'm curious what you would think about
Beekeeper.
Beekeeper. Very, very similar. And I heard, and we did talk about it, that they want to do a Beekeeper
There's no
too,
dead
but
dog though, guys. Spoiler alert.
yet.
A couple other dead
Yet.
things.
but like no, I think about that. Can't forget Deadpool and Wolverine. So yeah, Deadpool, Wolverine, Dune. Those are like the biggest ones. Gladiator I liked, and then of course
Furiosa, you mentioned.
Furiosa. I can't go without mentioning.
Romulus.
I enjoyed that. I didn't love it.
Oh,
I enjoyed it,
interesting.
but I didn't love it. The Crow. So I know I'm gonna get some flack for that one from the internet.
He's going to get some hate mail
Oh, for sure.
via Facebook.
Yeah, who knows?
You're gonna send some old school Brandon Lee posters to his thing with
And someone,
With the eyes
Strongly.
X'd out.
yeah.
jeez. But yeah, like I think that was the one movie that I saw that I was very surprised
He is
by.
defending it.
I went into it with an open mind, and I ended up enjoying myself. The only complaint I had was I wanted to know more about the big
villain.
bad guy, the villain, because I love my origin stories. Everything else made sense. The actions, the scenes, the acting. I was good with everything, but that movie did not do well at all.
Was Talk to Me this year?
That was last year.
That was that last year. Okay.
Yeah, that was at the tail end.
That's
of last
streaming as
year.
well.
Yes,
on Max,
I did
believe.
finally
Yeah.
get to watch that one. So
Buttons did watch that.
I did. Yes, I enjoyed it. It
I'm
was
surprised that you
interesting.
did enjoy it as much as you did because, like you said, you don't like those movies with those super dark endings. But I think it's one of those
I
things
think there's
too,
a
where if
time
you
and
go
place
into
for
it
the dark
knowing,
ending.
if you know it's going to be something messed up like that, you're kind of prepared.
Right.
Rather than they kind of lead you up to, all right, there's some hope here.
Exactly.
No rug pull.
Oh my
like-
gosh.
Yeah,
so much hope.
Yeah, like The Crow was a movie that I enjoyed, but it surprised. Like, I guess I wasn't entirely surprised that it had so much hate on it, and it did very poorly. But the people that I have talked to that actually gave it a chance, they said it wasn't that bad. You know, they like the original more, and I get that. You saw it first. There's a nostalgia aspect. I get that, but generally, everyone I know liked it. Who watched it, but like.
Comments.
I can't help but think about how many movies were so terrible
Or
this year.
disappointing.
That's
I
an
mean,
understatement.
Just
Because okay, for me personally, I'm speaking for myself here. I was nervous, but then I got excited for Beetlejuice, and I went and saw it, and that is near and dear to my heart. Beetlejuice is the second movie I ever saw in my life.
Disappointment of the year for you, Kage?
Or was Borderlands the disappointment of the year?
Honestly,
Because Beetlejuice really wasn't that bad.
I think Beetlejuice was the disappointment of the year.
Beetlejuice,
Just because of the anticipation,
nostalgia of it.
the nostalgia,
and what they needed to
right.
do.
Because I'm used to video game movies
Being
bad. I'm used to that, so I kind of went into it with a grain of salt. You know, I was like, because we talked about it on and off mic. You know, ripping on the cast of how it was just not not appropriate age
it didn't
characters.
seem like they cast it very well at all.
They didn't even try, and the sad part is the cast for Borderlands. The
story for me was just terrible.
The cast was. I have no problem with Kevin Hart or Jack Black, Kate Blanchett. You know, I've seen them in things that I enjoy them in, and on paper it sounds like, hey, this could be funny. Borderlands is a funny game. It's a funny adult, mature game. You know, and I think the foundations are there. It's there. They had the look of the outfits down, the look of the cars, Pandora, the creatures.
Yeah, everything looked great.
It has potential. That's what's irritating, is that it has potential, but the casting was completely awful, you know? And I watched it, and I can say this much, bare minimum, it was able to hold my attention, not like, how do I say it? I wasn't at the edge of my seat, but I was just kind of like watching it, not in a cynical way to see, oh, how are they going to screw this next scene up, or how are they going to screw it? Like, I was just watching it out of curiosity. But when I saw the whole thing in its totality, I was like, yeah, that was awful. That was awful. And it wasn't even just the casting, because at first glance, looking at the trailers, the casting is the biggest sin of the movie, but the writing, the story, some of the things they changed, it just didn't make sense.
Unforgivable.
Did you even know anything about the lore?
My nephew loved it, y'all. I mean,
I think it was targeted towards that audience, to be quite honest.
I don't know who it was targeted for, because it's
adults
violent and cursing, so it's not for little kids.
Pre-teen.
Oh, so there was cursing in it.
But, well, I mean, it was PG-13,
It was PG-13, but there's still a little
feel
element
like
edginess
that.
to it.
Yeah, that's one thing.
They had some suggestion. They had some violence.
And the thing
but
that's
not super
irritating
gory or anything like that.
is that they actually already filmed rated R scenes. They already did it.
Eli Roth.
They changed their mind.
And Eli Roth is known for violent films.
It's like Galaxy Quest.
So it doesn't make sense that you would pick a guy for violent films
To do that.
and then just cut out all the stuff. So no matter how you slice it, that movie was bad. But even then, I was able to sit through that. Beetlejuice, that struck a nerve with me, and that's why I'm going to call that movie the biggest disappointment for me personally, because like Neff said, there's a nostalgia aspect, and so you go into this movie loving these characters, even though we just had one movie. You know, for me, I had the toys, I watched the cartoon. It was the second movie I ever saw in my life, and so it's stuck with me all these years. And as old as the 1984 movie was, I still watch it to this day, and I'm like,
it's a classic.
It's funny. I still find it entertaining. The jokes and everything, it's not dated to me. And so I watched this new movie, and they're doing a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't make sense. 3 different villains. Pick a story and just stick with it.
I think the highlight of that story,
Here we go.
or the movie, for me anyway, was Bob. Bob was great.
Bob was one of the reasons why I hated
And funny
it.
enough, I just
I
watched
know, but I
Beetlejuice
loved
this
Bob.
past weekend, so I agree with what they're both saying. 6 at best. Aesthetically, looks great, but the story was just not there. Too much jumping around, too many characters, not
many
enough focus
villains.
on important characters that needed to be involved in the story. Yeah, overall, like I said, if you're going in there and you just take your brain out of your head for 2 hours, then it's great. You know what I mean? But if you're like thinking and you're trying to stay engaged with the film while having the aesthetics down, you're going to say, well, this is kind of losing me here. What are we doing with this?
I mean, there was certainly elements, especially when you first start out. And I know we've talked about Beetlejuice in length, so I won't go too far into it. Because there were certainly elements in there for me anyway that aesthetically, you know, or even for the nostalgia I liked, that I know that Kage said he did not like, such as Bob, or even in the opening scene when you had Danny DeVito's character who was a janitor, and he like drinks Drano or something like that.
It's always a joy to see Danny DeVito on screen, no matter how little. So I was like, I was happy with
And
that.
he
Really?
got turned into
No matter
a
how little? Wow.
deflated balloon.
Oh yeah, because he's 3 feet tall.
How
But
little,
like,
pun intended.
but like, yeah, like there's little things that I liked, but it's like the shrunken head bit was shown very little in the original movie, and that's what made it special. You kind of see it, sitting in the waiting room, and then Beetlejuice gets his head shrunken, and it's like 10-year-old me is like laughing with a smile on my face. It's not funny, it's not special anymore when you have a whole herd of them running around, riding a bike and running up and down the stairs. I'm like,
Wow.
this is freaking stupid.
So
But I'm
wanna-
not talking about the herd. I'm just talking about Bob and
Oh, just in general, the
Just-
character.
they all look alike.
So to finish
But
up,
they had little name tags.
yeah, they did. And then the other one was he had like the suit, right? It was different from the rest of them. He was like the manager of the call center.
Yeah.
Don't
Oh,
let the
right.
lions go dead. Anyway, I
Yeah.
like those little things in the
Yes.
background that you're looking for. But yeah, I mean, I think my 5 was the 5 that I most anticipated was really good, but in no particular order. I had Dune on there, Romulus, Furiosa, Deadpool, Wolverine, and then Smile 2. And overall, I thought those films did well, but there was definitely some films that didn't do as well quality-wise or at the box office. But overall, like you said, a solid C. I think Buttons had, you said a B-.
Yeah, B minus.
I have a C. Kage has about
C.
C. So I think, overall, that's the grade we're giving 2024. And we talked about what's going to be happening as far as December goes. So, guys, let us know down in the comments if you're going to be watching any of these films in the theater in this month of December. A lot of stuff for a lot of people there. Definitely want to hear what you guys think about it. Like this video, please, and share this video with a couple friends. As well, subscribe to the channel and ask a couple friends to subscribe as well. With all that being said, it's Neff signing off with
Kage.
And Buttons.
Be safe, guys. Later.